because you never know what's coming around the corner next. I am blown away by this one. You should be coming here like all the time. Hi, I'm Justine, the nerdy half of the Breakaway Bravehearts, and today I'm checking out the Hamilton Gardens, rumoured to be the most beautiful gardens in the world. Let's see. I've invested an extra $5 New Zealand in the audio guide. This is the entranceway. It's based on an Italian pavilion, and through these archways is the gardens all set out in a spider web. There are 3 main entrances, and each one then spreads out into a web of different types of gardens. The productive garden collection is all about how we relate nature to ourselves and how we can use gardens productively. And so we've got a sustainable garden, a herb garden, and a kitchen garden. But it's also about our cultural connection, the mind, body, spirit connection between gardens and nature and us. And so there's a Maori garden and there's an ancient Egyptian garden. Now the fantasy garden is different again. This is about the connection between gardens, the dreamland, and art. We've got a tropical garden, a surrealist garden, a Tudor garden, a concept garden, a Mansfield garden, and a garden that I don't know how to pronounce. Chinoiserie garden? I'll check that one out on the audio guide so I know just how to say it. But paradise sounds nice to me, so we'll start there. So the paradise gardens are going to show us different civilizations' ideas of what paradise is. So we've got Japanese, Chinese, Indian, Italian, English and modernist gardens. There's almost like too much to choose from. I'm going to need the whole day. These are the Char Bagh gardens, and they're based on an Indian idea of paradise that comes from the Quran. There are 4 gardens spread out with a fountain in the middle. And what you might notice is they're all on a layer. So the flowers are like a carpet around the water. The idea is that you enter from a dusty, crowded, busy, noisy 16th century Indian town, and you come into this space and you breathe. Each of the 4 gardens contains 1,000 plants, each of which need to be refreshed 3 times a year. So that's 12,000 plants just in this garden. This particular design is modelled on a small hunting palace from Agra. And so up here you've got a beautiful view of the Waikato River, and it's completely open air. Next, let's check out the Chinese Scholars Garden. Now this is a Song Dynasty garden, 960 CE to 1279 CE. That's quite a specific range. And the description is artistic self-cultivation inspired by mountains. That actually sounds like a good life rule. So what we're looking for through these doors is surprise, mystery, symbolism. And there's supposed to be a puzzle in here. Found it. This one has no white on the inside. The Chinese Scholars Garden is based on a gardening system over 2,000 years old, and it's all wrapped up in Chinese poetry and art and legends. The audio guide is really helping me out so far. It's not the Song Dynasty, it's the Song Dynasty. I've just come through the path of lingering fragrance, which will lead me to the Moon Gate. Each of the spaces inside the Scholars Garden have their own name, and this was quite important in Chinese tradition. Each of them evoke their own emotion and spiritual feeling you're supposed to connect with as you go through the space. There's also a balance between open and enclosed spaces. I'm hoping that the light's going to shift, yeah, there we go, as I move through here, because it's supposed to balance out light and dark. This precious gift protects the gardens from the Waikato River, which has been known to flood in the past. So far, so good. And it also brings luck if you rub the back. So I could use a bit of luck. Here's hoping that my luck will have you hit subscribe and the notifications bell. All right, let's now check out the productive gardens. I'm really interested in Te Parapara Garden. That's going to be Māori traditional farming, Māori traditional gardening. So the name Te Parapara comes from the people, the pa that was originally here. So this is a faithful reconstruction of a pre-European Māori garden. And so we start off with the wild plants of New Zealand that we used, like harakeke, the flax, like kowhai, and kawakawa. So they grow along this path, which is called Arawhaka Toki, the path of proverbs. Te Parapara was home to the Ngāti Wairere people, and their famous warrior chief, Te Hānui, is represented in the po at the beginning. These gardens have been designed with local iwi, building on the knowledge of the elders so that we could get a real insight into traditional Māori gardening techniques. And so this garden itself is now a treasure trove of all that knowledge that we can now dig into, figuratively and literally, to learn from for the future. So now we're in the realm of cultivated gardens. These are edible plants that were farmed, that were brought from Polynesia to New Zealand by the first people to arrive here. And so we're talking about kumara, taro, yam, tea, and a plant that was used for making paper. But the most important crop was the kumara. It's kind of like a sweet potato. The climate of Aotearoa was a lot cooler than the islands of Polynesia, so they needed to find new ways, new technologies to grow the kumara in these colder climates. One technique was to capture the sun's heat using mounds that kept that heat in over the plants, and it added drainage around it. Super clever. There was a lot of ritual involved around planting the kumara too. For example, the roots had to be pointed up and in the direction of Polynesia back to the ancestors. Also, you needed to sow the puke, the mounds, all in one day. That's a lot of work. Māori communal and collective society would have come in handy then. So this garden is replanted every year, and it's designed on actual archaeological digs. This fence is based on a description of an 1841 fence from Kirikereroa Pa. So that was the original name of Hamilton and the original settlement that was here. The fence is based on that original design and includes nods to the ancestors. I have to say, I'm pretty blown away by this one. This is my favourite so far. Okay, I might be slightly biased. When they say spiderweb design, they're not wrong. It's a little bit confusing, but also really cool because you never know what's coming around the corner next. Thank you, audio guide. It's pronounced Chinoiserie. It's a European take on Asian design from the 18th century when Europe was fascinated with Asian design. So they sell it to you as East meets West, a kind of take on the English imagination that was inspired by the Asian designs. I think these days we call it cultural appropriation. So this one is based on a 1738 garden in Stowe, England, which was itself based on the designs that they saw on imported Chinese goods. Vases. So we've got elegant women, we've got dragon motifs. Oh, and a chicken. That sounded like a peacock. Don't get me wrong, it's still beautiful in its own right, but you're probably guessing this one's not my favourite. Now this one I've been looking forward to. This is the ancient Egyptian garden. Now this helps you keep balance with the universe. It helps you perform your rituals to the god that will give your soul a safe passage to the afterlife. This garden is specifically designed to help the priests do all the rituals. So the herbs are there to produce the perfumes that they need to anoint you during the rituals. The flowers are specific ones, again, as offerings to the gods. Researchers have identified over 100 different plants, each with a specific use. And luckily for us, most of them can be grown in New Zealand. So the gardens have reproduced them faithfully. Everything in the garden is symbolic. So behind me, we've got the two slightly higher walls on either side of the door. Those are mountains, and in the middle, the doorway, that's where the sun divides the mountains, letting the light in. And on either side of the back wall, we have 2 false doors. Now these are entranceways and exits for spirits of the underworld. Okay, pretty cool. I did enjoy this, but now I have to go to Egypt and see the real thing. Of course, I will want to go specifically to ancient Egypt, so if anyone's got a time machine, if you could let me know in the comments, greatly appreciated. But now the clouds are coming in and I particularly want to go to the Surrealist Garden, so I'm gonna have to use my handy map because this place really is a spider web. Okay, found it. It's in the time court and it says through the looking glass. So I'm imagining kind of an Alice in Wonderland type thing. It's based on the 1920s dreamlike garden of surrealist strangeness. The idea of the surrealist movement is to confuse, befuddle, surprise. So that's what this garden does. I seem to have shrunk and I wasn't that big before, so this is concerning for me. There were 5 great Tudor monarchs, including Henry VIII, he of the many wives, and the last of the Tudors, which was Elizabeth I. You know her, the one that increased trade for England and brought in a wealth for the country, and sometimes, supported piracy. She spent a lot of her money on lavish gardens, and so it was during her period that Tudor gardens really came into their own. She liked to travel around the countryside and visit all her subjects, and it was their job to entertain her cast of thousands, her 400 cats, and house her hundreds of shoes. So you had to have a decent garden to keep her occupied during the day. It needed to be quite fancy, to show respect for the Queen, but you wouldn't want it too fancy. Otherwise, she might swap it for one of her rundown places. There are no original Tudor gardens left in England because Oliver Cromwell and his band of Puritans kind of destroyed them all. And then the Victorians came along and they had a different design. So this is where we get to see just a little bit of that in action. The Tudors loved patterns, intricate designs, and it would show up in their furnitures, their clothes, and of course their gardens, especially the knot hedges like the one behind that was designed in 1573 by the mathematician Didymus Mountain. To keep their form, the gardeners here trim the hedges by hand every 6 to 8 weeks. They use string to keep the lines and make sure it's all the way it's supposed to be. It takes them 12 days to complete. Okay, I've been looking for the concept garden and my map says it's here. Yeah, it is. Turns out it's inside that wardrobe. A concept garden is a garden that's designed around a concept, like the name says, one particular idea. It's not supposed to be necessarily beautiful or useful, and in fact, some concept gardens don't even contain plants. They're the most modern of all kinds of gardens. Oh, here we go. It's opening up. It's time for me to go in. I'm a little bit freaked out right now. Oh, wait, I've got to go. It's shutting. He peke tangata, apa he peke titoki. The human family lives on while the branches of the titoki tree decay. It's a bit of a warning about the impact of human activity on the land, on nature. But then the second whakatoki brings back some humility and brings that human power into perspective. As man disappears from sight, the land remains. So the concept behind this is that humans are not as powerful as they think they are. This is the Mansfield Garden. One of our famous novelists, Catherine Mansfield, wrote a short story, The Garden Party, and this garden is based on her story. Mansfield's story is believed to be based on an actual party she attended, and she described the garden and the setting in detail, so it's been recreated here. It's a great contrast to the Te Parapara Garden across the road, showing traditional Māori gardens, because this is a typical Edwardian New Zealand colonial garden. The entrance is circular so that you can get in with your horse and cart without having to turn around. Motor vehicles were very rare during the day, but if you were wealthy enough, you could get yourself a Model T Ford, the ultimate status symbol. They faithfully recreated everything in this story, right down to the sandwiches. Unfortunately, Mansfield only described 2 of the fillings of the 15 types of sandwiches, so they had to guess the rest. Don't try and eat them, they're concrete and fiberglass. The research, thought and care that has gone into this is fantastic. This one, for example, is the tropical garden. So you've got all these rich, beautiful, vibrant plants that grow in density in hot climates in a Waikato climate. So blending all the imports with the natives was quite tricky. These dedicated gardening artisans / historians are not finished yet. There's 3 more gardens on the way. A Baroque garden, a tropical oasis and a medieval garden. That sounds fascinating. One of the friendly gardeners here told me that the medieval garden is due to be finished in February, but I'm not going to be here for that. So if anyone visits it, please let us know in the comment how it goes. Sadly, he also very politely told me that they close at 5. In other words, move along. I guess it's time for me to go. I have thoroughly loved this garden, and next time I'm going to leave myself so much more time to enjoy it. Before I go, I want to thank all my subscribers for joining me. As always, I love bringing you along on these adventures. And I want to thank the Hamilton City Council, local iwi, and everyone that has made this garden possible and open to the public. Absolutely fantastic. Well worth the $20 if you're not from Hamilton. If you are from Hamilton, it's completely free. You should be coming here like all the time. Okay, you can tell I was impressed. Anywho, I've got to go. They are scooting me out the door. Until next time, happy travels everyone.